Welcome to the All of Life podcast, where we explore how Oklahoma Baptist University is shaping the future. I'm your host, Nicole Hall. Join us monthly as we delve into OBU's mission to provide Christian education across all fields, impacting students' lives for generations to come. Remember, it's all of life, all for Jesus. Welcome to the All of Life podcast here at Oklahoma Baptist University. I'm your host, Nicole Hall, and we are so happy that you're here today. In this episode, we'll explore a question that's close to our hearts. Why does Christian higher education matter now more than ever before? And what does it look like for a university not to just teach, but to disciple students? At OBU, we believe that college is more than a degree. It's actually a launching pad for a life of purpose and faith. Today, I'm joined by some very special guests, parents of Oklahoma Baptist University graduates who have seen this transformation firsthand. I'm so happy you all are here today. Joining us, I have Rich Conrad from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, Leanne Howard from Shawnee, Oklahoma, and Chris Haynes from Norman, Oklahoma. So to get us going, I thought you guys can best introduce yourselves. Give us a little bit about where you're from and your family and your graduates.
Okay. My name is Rich Conrad, and it's great to be here. I have 3 children, and Spencer is 22 years old, and Jessica is 29, and Ashley is 26. They all 3 got married within 6 months, and we survived. And we now have 2 grandsons. That is Teddy and Conrad, and that has been a joy to see. And then Spencer and Jessica went to OBU, and Jessica said that was the best 4 years of her life. And Spencer is now an accountant by Penn Square Mall in a company called Smith Carney. And we have had a business for 25 years, landscape architecture firm. We're celebrating 25 years. And so that's been a good ride for us. And then my wife teaches EL at Union Elementary Schools, Grove and McAuliffe. And I actually went to OU, unlike the other 3 here. But I knew about OBU when I got out of college, really, and just started learning through a couple of friends. And that became a really interesting deal because the more I learned, the more I wanted my kids to go here. So that's how that's shaped up. I'm 59 years old, and I grew up in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and went to high school there.
My name's Leanne Howard from the class of 78, so I'm the elder here at the table. I have 2 children. They're both OBU graduates. My daughter Haley graduated in 2008, and then my son graduated in 2012. And I'm thankful they've both stayed in Shawnee. So I have 4 grandchildren. Each one has 2 children apiece. And it's just fun to be in town with them and get to see them every day if I want.
Nicole, thanks for hosting us. My name is Chris Haynes, and my wife is Valerie. We graduated from OBU. I graduated in 94. She graduated in 95. We have 4 children, CJ, Caleb, Levi, and Hannah. CJ graduated from OBU. He works at EY in Oklahoma City as an accountant. Caleb is a junior currently at OBU. Levi will be here in the fall at OBU, and my 14-year-old wants to be at OBU. She's ready. So I actually transferred to OBU my junior year, and so that was, of course, a blessing, but I knew all along because God called me into the ministry when I was a freshman in high school. So I currently serve as one of the pastors at Trinity Baptist Church in Norman. I've been there 18 years. I was at Southern Hills Baptist Church for 13 years before that. But when I came to OBU, Dr. Tom Wilkes, some of you might know that name out there on the radio, said, "Chris, we're going to get you a church." I was 19 years old. Dr. Wilkes said, "You know what? The best way to learn about ministry is to be in ministry." And so he was actually so instrumental in my life and got me into the ministry. So when I turned 20, January of 93, I became a youth pastor. And so the journey's continued. I love OBU. I love everything that OBU does. Dr. Agee vision for excellence at OBU is one of the things he always said when I was here, and I still remember that. So, blessing to be here. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate
so happy you guys are here. It's very exciting. So kind of to get us going, I'd love to hear more about the OBU family journey. You've shared a little bit, but how, from a parent standpoint, what convinced you that OBU was going to be a great place for your kiddos at the time?
Are we going this way?
Let's start.
Okay. So Jessica started hearing about OBU. I've got a best friend and his wife and their triplets went here. And so that's how I really learned about OBU a lot. But I really started praying and nudging Jessica as she was in high school to go to OBU, just because I knew that the chapels, all three of my kids are saved and got saved at an early age. But I just loved what I heard about OBU as far as chapels. And sure enough, that is the case. Jessica said that was the best 4 years of her life. The dorms are a great setup for the girls, and that really interested me. And then just all the opportunities. Jessica actually played quarterback on this flag football program that they have here all 4 years, and put teams together, and then we go to FCA camp and lead girls to Christ. And then she graduated with a good exercise. What's the name of the degree? Exercise science. Thank you. And she has been a coach and a ninth grade algebra teacher at Union until she's had Conrad. And so that was a thrill. And then Spencer's, he wanted to go. He wanted to go fairly early because he saw Jessica enjoying it so much. And their business school is great. And that's how that shaped up. Some good prayer and nudging, and I didn't make her. But that all shaped up great for her.
Well, I wanted the children to come just because I knew what it was. I knew the bones of it. I had such a good experience myself. And of course, being from Shawnee, they both said we would go in a heartbeat, except it's in Shawnee. You know, we've been here our whole life. We did all of our piano lessons, second grade through seniors in high school at OBU. Haley did flute lessons. They did all their track meets here. They just said we would do it, except it's in Shawnee. So Haley was enrolled for OU. My husband's an OU graduate. Loved OU. We've had season football and basketball tickets since 1975. So they loved OU. Haley was enrolled, ready to go. And this is middle May. You know, I was just resigned that she was going to OU. And the tennis coach here had a person that they offered a tennis scholarship to back out and decide she was going to go somewhere else. So Sue Green called Haley and said, would you be interested in this scholarship? So it really was, she searched her soul hard because she really wanted to continue to play tennis because she was a tennis player in high school. Her grandfather was the OBU tennis coach for several years in the 50s. Her dad coached tennis all through high school and college in the summers. And so she decided she'd go ahead and come. And I was so thankful. That was such an answer to prayer. And then a year later, the girl that turned her scholarship down didn't like where she went, came back. And they had a scholarship and offered it to her. But had she taken it and come her freshman year, Haley's college experience would have been solely different. So truly, truly believed in the hand of God in that. Lane, the deciding factor for him, he was loved basketball. I mean, loved it probably better than his skill was. He was good, but he loved basketball with all his heart. And so they offered him a basketball JV scholarship, not a varsity. And he took it and he came, and it was such a good fit. Played on every intramural team there was. Even did it after he graduated. They let you come back. And for 3 or 4 years after he graduated, he came back and played on intramural team, and his teams always won, and he had just the best time. The guys on his intramural teams, they were his groomsmen in his wedding. You know, they lifelong friends to this day.
I love it. It's awesome. What about your kiddos, or you for your kiddos?
Sure. Well, in 1988, I came to what they used to call the academy. You could come, OBU offered a intercession during the summer, and you could come and take classes. And God had called me into the ministry at Falls Creek, and, you know, OBU's there, the OBU hut was there, it was all about OBU. And then I got this offer to come, and I was like, yeah, I'm going. So I came here, took 6 hours, and knew. I went back home and I said, I'm going to OBU. That's all there is. Well, my parents were administrators. And so there wasn't a lot, in a public school, it wasn't a lot of money. So my dad was like, well, you're going to have to be praying about that. I actually applied to Cameron University, got a full scholarship. But before I went, I came and met with Dr. Wilkes and said, I'm coming back here and I want class to class. I want everything to transfer. So we worked it out. I got to take most of my Civ at Cameron. Thank you. I didn't have to take it at OBU. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you've walked through, no, it's a good class. It is. But so I came here my junior year after being at Cameron University and met my wife. And then after we got married, we really hoped and prayed that all of our kids would want to be a part of OBU. And we started investing early in 529s when all the kids were born so we could set, additional funds aside. And when CJ got to the age, I'm like, CJ, what are you thinking? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm going to OBU. And I was like, okay. I don't think he ever filled out an application for any other school. So, and he came here, had a full ride. We paid, with scholarships and everything because, I know we'll talk about that later, but, $3,000 or $4,000 over the life because he was summa cum laude. He graduated 4.0 and he had because he worked hard, right? And then all of the siblings have seen what CJ and so now Caleb and Levi are here, and we'll see what God does with Hannah. But like I said, she's ready.
So you've talked a little bit about your kiddos and just your hopes for them to come here and expectations. I do think it's an expectation that faith will be combined with their learning. And that's just kind of like a given when you think about sending your kid to a Christian university. But was there anything specific that you hoped, would shape both their faith journey and maybe their career opportunities? Was there anything specific that you thought, okay, I'm sending them here, I hope this specifically resonates with them?
Well, yeah. Again, you'll have to cut me off because I will tend to talk too much. Sorry about that. But the reality is for OBU, I knew that if my kids would come, they would get invested from the professors. They're not just someone teaching a class. They literally care about the heart and the person. And so my son has some of his professors, are his best friends. Hey, come over and have dinner, swim in the pool, do this. And, then that in conjunction with being in the honors program. Hey, you're going to work hard, but they're going to love you and they're going to walk through this with you. And so knowing that they were going to get invested in, I work with students at the University of Oklahoma with the BCM. I'm a college pastor at Trinity Baptist. And so I see the difference, a student that goes and there's several hundred people in the class and the professors could care less. And here, the professors, all the people that work on campus, CJ got to do the chainsaw crew one year when all the trees fell. So he came and they were cutting down trees. And, so it's not just the professors. It's really all of those that are here on campus seem to honestly care about the individual person. Mm-hmm. And they'll know you by name.
Oh, they will. They'll know if you're not there. They'll know a lot. Speaking of, and you kind of gave an example of the chainsaw crew, but I'd love to hear about a moment maybe where your child shared with you that OBU, they were in a class, for example, and OBU strategically weaved in that faith component directly into their experience. Do you have any stories like that? I mean, I know, like you said, professors tend to really do that well. I mean, both inside the classroom and outside, but just curious if you have any examples of that.
Honestly, I kind of bounce this off of the children. And Their answer was, Mom, this was so long ago. So I know it's in their core, it's in their fabric, it's woven into them. They may not remember specifics, but I know they're there. Multiple of them here because of OBU.
Yeah. Spencer went through the business school and is working in accounting, but I love the way that's networked. And you have guys that have been out in the work world and are coming in and being professors, or I don't know if that's the term, but they're working with them and they talk about their faith. And then really Bobby Kelly's a good friend of mine, and was hoping he knew Jessica and the girls, her friends, but I was hoping Spence might get around him a little bit, and because that influence is great. And so that did happen. And then just he would talk about his classes and how Christ was presented and part of it. And then he loved the Bible classes, and I knew he would. And that's a plus. You hear people gripe about going to chapel or the Bible classes, and that wasn't an issue with Jessica and Spence. And then both of them loved being in Bobby Kelly's Bible classes. And we saw that as an opportunity and made that happen. So I like to talk about that a lot.
Well, that's one of the things when I asked my children about that. Lane didn't have Bobby Kelly, but his wife is an OBU graduate, my sweet daughter-in-law. And he said if you asked her, she'd have a whole different answer to the faith being incorporated in their classes. She had Bobby Kelly and said it was life-changing. So that man has impacted lots and lots of students.
Well, of course, Dr. Kelly, I had him when I was here. He just became a professor. But CJ calls me one night, like, hey, what's going on? I was like, well, I'm actually sitting in Dr. Kelly's kitchen having dinner. I was like, what? You're Dr. Kelly's? I love Dr. I can't call him Bobby. He's always going to be Dr. Kelly to me. But he's like, yeah. And then he and Luke, CJ and Luke became best friends. And he was like, I'm like, every time he's over there, he's calling me. I was like, I'm kind of a little bit jealous because I want to hang out with Dr. Kelly, but I couldn't go to his house. And some of you know the name Otis Compton, but Otis was actually my BCM director when I was here. And he's still a part of OBU. It seems like he still lives here in Shawnee. And so CJ was really involved with the Compton family. That kind of then transferred over to Emmanuel Baptist Church. And, so a lot of that really just kind of wove together for them.
And that's what you want, Chris. For our kids to be around other great Christians. That was my college experience, that I didn't grow up in a Christian home, and God just put a bunch of great Christian people around me at OU. And I knew that was going to happen at OBU.
Right.
And sure enough, it did.
And I think weaving that academics and that spiritual, it's not either or. And so the sad part is most of us compartmentalize our lives and think, this is that, that's that, that's that. But the professors here, they treat them like adults more and like real people, not just a project, you know what I'm saying? And so they become, you're going to work hard, and I'm going to teach you about God and how you do this. Because God gave us a work to do before the fall, right?
That's life.
Adam was given a work, and work's a good thing. So the reality of that is when CJ was doing his honors program, man, I wish I could remember his professor that was, because they give you like one professor that's kind of
mentors you.
Right, exactly. But he came and was really involved in CJ's life too. I should probably text him, see if I can get that information. But
it's awesome. Well, you're helping us kind of shift gears a little bit to talk more about just like the whole, like you said, just kind of a holistic transformation for our students. And so I want to talk a little bit about growth beyond the classroom. Obviously, that is a huge thing. Our professors pour and really try to tie in faith into the classroom setting and make it practical. But beyond like grades and GPA, after your students' time here, where did you see noticeable growth in their lives? This could be, maybe their mindset, relationships that they have. How have you kind of seen them mature? And do you really believe that OBU prepared them for that and had a part in that?
Yeah, no, what I knew when my kids went to OBU, they were going to get opportunities they wouldn't get at a state school. And sure enough, that happened. Spencer ends up in Nepal, hiking Bibles up in the Himalayan mountains. And it was not a glorious trip. And it shaped him some. And just because of what OBU offers, those kind of things are happening. And I'm just so proud and thankful for that. And just the fact that ideally you do want to meet a girl at church or a Christian school, and that happened. And now he's married, has a son, and I mean, if it's at a different school, maybe yes, maybe no. But OBU brings opportunities that you don't get at an OU or OSU, and mission trips. And a good friend of mine, Brian Baldwin, was leading Go students all over the place, and that cast a vision, and just chapel and the whole thing. I mean, and it's what you want. I mean, we do it as a family, but that's what you want, and it did happen at OBU with Christ. Now I'm incredibly grateful for that.
I saw my children come out of school as it just amazed me. They're so comfortable in front of people. They speak when they have speaking opportunities. They do. They stand up. They're so well, so calm, so poised. And I know a lot of that was the report presentations and the projects they did at OBU in front of classes. Lane particularly was a little introverted. When he'd have one of those in class, I'd say, how are you today? He'd go, it's fine, no big deal, I'll be fine. And that just was so contrary to his pre-college character. He would have been shaking and wasn't. And I've seen them now as adults in their places of employment, speaking in front of people, and they just are poised, and it astounds me that OBU gave them that strength that's serving them well as they go through their careers now.
And that happens with individual attention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It doesn't
not
when you're one of 300.
Not necessarily in a big group. You can just keep staying the way you are. And,
you can hide.
But that happens with individual attention.
Thank you, Rod.
Well, the small groups were really important here at OBU for CJ and currently for Caleb. And, we really emphasize when you leave home, you got to find a local church. And so the churches here do a great job. They come, they're inviting, they're welcoming. And so I love that because churches partner with OBU and gives them this idea. It's not just what you did at home, but now it's you're owning your faith. And then once they get out, it's a huge transition for these 18-year-olds to come to college. But if you haven't talked to a 22, 23, 24-year-old who's transitioning to the workforce, that's a whole completely different transition. So it's still up to the parents, right? And so CJ knew he's got to get in a local church, but he went to like 14 different churches before he found the church that God really called him to. But what really keyed it in for him was a small group at that church. Invited him, he got plugged in because he knew how important they were at OBU and the man that he had spent time with. And Caleb's doing that right now, and I pray that Levi, when he gets here, will have older men pouring him too. So it's continued. And, so now CJ is a member at Frontline. He's a part of a small group. He's going, he's active. He's there every Sunday. He's in the scripture. He's sharing the gospel with people. So,
I find people have talked negatively sometimes about the forced chapel, forced whatever at a Christian school, and those people are still struggling. And the ones that are saved are going, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And you can see how that dynamic works. And that never really, because I've heard a lot of negative talk, and I would have given anything to have a chapel service like that. And that's probably one of the reasons I wished I'd gone to OBU. But that never threw me at all. I'm just going, my children, they're going to embrace that, and they did.
I do think there's something to the fact that OBU really strives to put in kind of that worship rhythm into their students' lives. I mean, they definitely prioritize find a local church. It's every Wednesday and sometimes Fridays, they are sitting in chapels, and they are, intentional with who's in the chapel, who's speaking, who's preaching. So there's so many opportunities. I was talking to a group of students recently saying, even on their dorm room floors, there are opportunities for Bible studies and smaller groups within other organizations on campus. So I love that you guys we naturally kind of got to that. I do think that is something major, and that's one of the spiritual formation pieces that a state school doesn't have.
No, Chris, you see guys, I remember going to OU and my Christian friends weren't going to church.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, why aren't you guys going to church? I got involved with First Baptist Norman, but that was the right thing to do. And I was just struck how many of my so-called Christian friends weren't going to church. And that doesn't really happen at OBU. It may some. I know it's not perfect, but that's what I saw coming.
So we've talked about academics and spiritual formation. We know in college, life extends, beyond the classroom, obviously. And so I'm curious, a few of you mentioned some different activities your students were involved in, but I am curious if any of them were involved in intramural sports, social clubs, any other campus organizations, and then if so, how those experiences also maybe shaped their time at OBU, helping them have leadership skills or giving them a sense of belonging. What did that look like if your student was involved in something outside of just the academic experience?
Well, like I mentioned, my lane was in intramurals, and loved it, met a lot of new people that way. Being in a sport, they practiced, from I can't remember, 4:30 till 6 or 7 of an evening. So that precluded social clubs and things like that. But the intramurals were later at night, and he kind of got a late night rhythm in college, as most of us do, and just absolutely had a ball doing it, and met so many people that way. It helped him just socially on campus too.
Yeah, I had no idea that the women's football league was as big a deal down here.
Oh yeah,
as it
flag
is.
football.
Flag
it's a
football.
Big deal.
And
was
so
Jessica a quarterback?
Jessica comes down here in her freshman year and ends up playing quarterback and did that all 4 years. And she would organize some teams, and just watching her do it, that's just her. But the friends that she's made through that and played basketball. So that was a rhythm, that was provided. And then the great people that were put around her, 3 or 4 of her friends, or there's more than 3 or 4, just the way she is. And they're not just friends. They're sisters in Christ, and that's invaluable. Their weddings, all the things that are going on right now. Oh yeah, they still get together, and they're not perfect and all that, but it's that's priceless, and that's what and Spencer's the same way. Guys are a little different maybe, but here on campus, that's the friendships that happen that way with basketball and flag football and stuff. So I've always embraced that. I was involved in Fellowship of Christian Athletes and learned that's an aspect where you get a lot of influence and build relationships. And that's what OBU is doing a great job of here.
Well, there's only one real fraternity on this campus. It's the Lambdas, right?
I do remember the Lambdas.
No, CJ was really involved. Caleb, there was a whole nother issue. I think he's actually going to pledge this fall. We'll see about that. Levi wants to pledge. But, it's not just that, but those guys, CJ was, I think, the president once or twice, and he was also an RA and the head RA. So there was a lot of involvement with guys on that part of his life. But just the camaraderie of being in AG dorm. We could talk about this later, but there's a difference between
be a whole
being
podcast
in
on AG dorm.
one dorm versus another dorm and the way everything is set up. So, I was in that dorm. It was called Brotherhood back then, but there's just a different flow and a different chemistry over there for sure. But I would encourage, parents to let their kids explore some other things when they get to OBU. It's really a change in who you are. They've got to own themselves. And so, my son called and said, "Hey, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I was a Phi Delta, so I was a part of Phi Delta Theta." And that's completely different fraternity side than what you see here at OBU. But look, you can find all the things on any campus you want to find if you're looking for the wrong things. But these fraternities and sororities here try to push the men and women to positive things. And I did intramural sports when I was here too. You know? So if there's something besides just, it's, you know, I tell my kids, go to college, you're going to get a degree, but you got to learn to be who God's made you to be. You got to own yourself, and you got to get great friends. And if God blesses someone, a spouse, then, you know, great. Because you're going to have any job. Maybe you're going to change jobs 3 or 4 times, but you can do anything. But if you've got this community around you that knows Jesus, and you're fellowshipping, and you're worshiping, and you're serving. So Caleb is a part of, I can't remember what it's called. He goes out to this, I keep wanting to ask the person behind the camera over there because he would know, but he's at Emmanuel, and they go out and work with these kids in this ranch every week.
Is it a special needs focus or?
Yeah, Cargo Ranch. So he goes to Cargo Ranch. He's like, Dad, this is amazing. I love this. And I'm like, man, go. Because he loves kids and he loves working with them. So that's completely a different
And that's those
side.
opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean,
And those are
they're
special
priceless.
needs kids,
Yeah.
right? At
He-
Cargo
Yeah,
Ranch.
He
it's
loves them.
awesome.
And so I'm like, man,
They need
you
kids.
go. So
Yeah.
look, some kids are going to make A's. CJ was like, Kate was like, hey, Dad, I might have got a C. I'm like, hey, that's
not terrible.
I
of you.
understand if you got a C in that class. Look, it's
Yeah,
okay.
it's a hard class.
Tell me about how your discipleship group went last week. I was meeting with them. So, you know.
Yeah, they're also different.
You know, my dad drilled oil wells his whole life and could go from the oil field to the petroleum club. And he said, you know, we turn down straight A students because they don't know how to get along with people. And that's a big deal. And so you come out of OBU, you see these testimonies, and I mean, Christ is life. And that's why you see this at OBU, that we'll teach you how to deal with life and the individual attention.
And how to get out without having a 4 point.
And you talk about your son, and that's a sore spot with me on my grades, but that's invaluable. And you talked about how your son came out of different, and you see that happen. And that's I still say that's Christ. That's maturing, growing in Christ that is getting individual attention here that I don't know if you get, unless I was fortunate I landed in FCA, but
Right.
overall school-wise, dorm-wise, all that's different here at OBU. And I'm just so grateful.
Clearly, OBU impacted your students' lives. I think you've all mentioned, and given examples of just now they can lead and serve in different capacities. I'd love for you to share a little bit about where they are now. Like, give me a snapshot. You don't have to do every kid, but maybe a snapshot of, the day in the life of Jessica or Lane or CJ, just so we can kind of even get a broader picture of what they're doing. I know some of you mentioned what they're doing today, but maybe how they are leading and serving and doing what OBU prepared them to do in the real world.
Okay. My kiddos, Haley is HR director of a company here in town that manages and leases hospitals all throughout Oklahoma and Texas. And it's a big job. It's a lot of doctors. It's a lot of nurses that she's dealing with, but she absolutely loves it. Lane is the IT director at North Rock Creek Schools. It was a dependent school for years and years. About 5 years ago, they added a high school, so they're now independent. So he has all the campuses. His wife, Erica Bass Howard, has been their elementary principal. OBU graduate education major, has been their principal. She is changing jobs in August to a new position. They want her as communication director for the school. So she's a little sorry to leave the kiddos behind. She's really loved her job, but they feel like they need her in the communications director. So everybody's in Shawnee and working and happy. And I'm so thankful. Just to see them launched is a blessing.
I love that they're still here too and pouring into this community, and it's really awesome.
We're all at Emmanuel together still, where the kids grew up and where I worked for 18 years. So it's been fun.
Oh, I've had fun watching Jessica just use her gifts. She has taught ninth grade algebra at Union Ninth Grade Center. And then we've been friends with the tennis coach, but the tennis coach said, I want you leading our middle school tennis program. And so she's done that and worked with FCA there at school and as Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I don't know if I could be more proud of her, just the impact that she's had. So, just her gifts and the influence. I mean, that's, I couldn't ask for much more than that. And that was just promoted and fueled here at OBU.
Yeah, it's a blessing. CJ is an accountant at EY, Ernst & Young, in Oklahoma City, and probably works too much. 70, 80 hours a week is, those new guys, they really work you a lot. He gets up about 5, goes to CrossFit. He's all into that. And if you don't know anything about CrossFit, it's a community too. It's very, very different. But he shares the gospel with the people there and pours into their life, and they do things outside, and so he invites them and tries to encourage them and share the gospel with them. And then he's got his weekly small group. It's not a 20-something small group. There's like married adult couples that are there, and he's involved in it, and there's others, and he loves it and goes and serves at the church. So he's really active and front line. And, just super proud of him. It's amazing to see what God would do. You pray, you prepare, you send them, and then you're like, wow, that 4 years was so fast. And now they're in all the things, and you're like, we went on a family vacation last week. You get to see them every day, and then they go back to work, and you're like, I sure would like to talk to that guy every day again. But, you've got to let them go because,
it's hard.
They're a person, and God's made them to be that way, and so they're serving. And so, I think OBU really instills this idea of it's not a come and take. It's a learn, go, serve, give, be God in the community where you're at.
So we are in the middle of a campaign, and it's the Shape the Future campaign. I'm sure you guys have heard a little bit about that. And that is the goal. I mean, we feel like we are trying to shape our students, and we are shaping people, and OBU is shaping our students to go shape others. And so a little bit about that campaign. Obviously, we're focusing in on academic investment. I'm sure you've heard about all these new programs we have coming online, and we've got a lot of health science programs, engineering school, just so many great things going on academically. We're focusing on facility improvements. If you walk around a little bit, you'll see we're kind of under construction, but we've got Shawnee Hall opening up this fall, which is very exciting. Thurmond Hall, where a lot of our engineering classes will be held, will open up in January. And then Rayleigh Chapel, where, again, this is kind of our hub for spiritual formation, will be the spring of 2027. So we are so excited. And then, again, we're focusing in on campus enhancements, intramural sports, and things to kind of get the students to stay here on campus, enjoy each other, and grow. Those are all just a part of that campaign. So with this in mind, and again, just as parents, I'm just curious, if you're approached by someone who doesn't know a lot about OBU, but asks you, what do you think about OBU? Do you think it'd be worth investing in this university and in students today? What would your response be? I think it's pretty obvious, but.
Absolutely. I'm a pretty big cheerleader for OBU, and absolutely, just for all the reasons we all have experienced and watched in our own homes.
I would tell them, send all your kids. I mean, it's an investment. We started investing in our kids, and they all went to community. We homeschooled, and then they went to community Christian. If you've invested all this time, you think it's going to be $80,000, $100,000. Yeah, but really you're investing in them and their kids and their kids and their kids, right? So what do you want the legacy of 100, 200 years in your family to be? And listen, there are scholarships available. Yeah. I know you're probably going to talk about that if we have time, but it's possible for you to come. I mean, every student that has a higher than like a 3.8 is going to get $7,500 a semester, like right off the bat.
Lots and lots of scholarships.
So it's possible for you to get here. So I tell them, make an investment. You're making an investment in the lifetime of your family, not just your one kid.
You go to OBU and you see the way the dorms are set up, especially for the girls, but the guys, and it's just common sense. And when I I know OBU isn't perfect, but when I was sending my kids to OBU, I know they're going to hear about Christ. They're going to get the opportunities. And it's what do you want out of life? And I mean, a secular school, if you're fortunate, have a Christian home, you're strong, or like me, I was in sports and FCA, and I went to church, then that is secular, just like Ernst & Young. And you hear it talked about all the time. How my child come out of college like that? But they're promoting it. And that's not just one state school. That's all of them.
And look, I mean, being fair to state schools, you can find God at those schools.
Well, yeah, that's what happened to me. But I mean,
and you can, if you
but
want
they don't
to
promote it
after it. If I mean, we've got BCMs on every campus in the state of Oklahoma, and that's great. And we have dorm Bible studies and everything. But here, it's not everything else and Christ. It's Christ and everything else.
You play
at
in the
those
odds.
secular schools, it's everything else. Oh, and
and then they're going to add a bunch of fees onto your, and then you find out OBU isn't the most expensive private school. And then they go to bat for you. And I had a terrible year one year, and I'm just almost had to tell Jessica, I can't pay for your college. And OBU goes to bat for me because I have my own company. And next year I had the best year ever. And I think God had something to do with that. But OBU will go to bat for you. And we've seen that personally.
OBU definitely is invested in our students, and not just academically, but spiritually. I mean, spiritual formation is very, very important. And again, we want our students to live all of life, all for Jesus. I mean, that's why we're here. I'm so thankful for you guys taking time today to engage in this conversation. It is very important. I mean, we know Christian higher education is vital today. And so I'm thankful and appreciative of you taking time to meet with us. For our listeners today, of course, we've heard how higher education at OBU doesn't just educate, it equips. And we believe that through faith-driven learning and different spiritual formation and worship rhythms that we've talked about, mentoring and strong community, these are the ways that our students' lives are being shaped. And we wholeheartedly believe that they will go out and live all of life, all for Jesus. So if you'd like to learn more about Oklahoma Baptist University or our Shape the Future campaign, you can visit our website at www.okbu.edu/shapethefuture. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please continue to spread the vision, let other Bison know, let friends and family know about our podcast and what we're doing here at OBU. And so until next time, I'm Nicole Hall, and we hope you'll join us again. Thanks. Thank you for joining us on the All of Life podcast. Stay connected by following us on social media and subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. To support OBU's Shape the Future campaign, visit okbu.edu/shapethefuture. Together, we are future shapers. See you next time.